So with this being the final part of the video, I thought we'd take a look at the final part of what is basically the final part of a paint job, which is the polishing stage. I know a lot of you guys have been following this from the very first video, so thank you to everybody who's been following on this series. So we're going to take a look at first what we're going to need to actually polish this up. Now we've got some P2000 Mirka wet flat. The Mirka or the 3M is good. We've got a Colad bottle with water. We've got a cloth for drying off with. We've got a 3000, which will be the second step of the flatting, which will go on a DA without an interface pad because it's a foam pad itself. And then we're using the G360 super fast compound with the wool head, and we've got a nice brand new fresh cloth for knocking off with. Now how much you polish is going to be entirely up to you. If you want like a complete mirror finish with no peel, then you'd be doing it this way. You could just nib and polish it if you wanted to, or if your job's clean enough. But if you've got OCD like me and you've got a really nice job, but you can make it that little bit better for the sake of a quick polish, then for me, I'd rather just knock that last little tiny little bit of peel out and make it a really nice job rather than a nice job. And as you can tell by the peel on the bonnet, there's not a lot of peel in this anyway. It's more than factory, but that little extra polish in that couple of hours will make the world of difference to this car. Especially later in the video, if you stay tuned, I've got the pictures of this car that I originally got from the customer before we did any work to it, and obviously the finished pictures of it. Now, you'll see on the wet flat there, as I'm wet flatting this, and I'm just using water, no soap, the blue is coming off. Now, with this being 2K direct gloss or single stage paint, as some people call it, your colour is the finish. Hence why I put the 3 coats on there. So that third coat gives me more than enough that if I wanted to, I could go way harsher than this. This is just literally a quick once over. I'm not going mad on this. I'm giving it a quick once over just to knock the top off that last little bit of peel, which will give it that perfectly flat finish all over. Now, if you did it in 2 coats, you'd have more than enough to do this as well. But I just like putting that third coat on for safety's sake. And then I've got that little bit extra to work with. Now, once you've given it a full flat over, like you've just seen me do there, and take your time, you know, really try and take your time. Stay off the edges. You can go up to the edges, but don't flat the edges. And you see there where there's just a few little tiny shiny spots. So they're the lows in the orange peel that we've not quite got out in 1 or 2 tiny little areas. Now, in order for it to be a perfectly flat finish, what you want is the whole bonnet to be matted off. You don't want to see any of those little shiny spots, because those shiny spots are the low in the orange peel. And basically, orange peel, in effect, is like a corrugated sheet on a roof. It's got high spots and low spots, and that is the orange peel look. So it's highs and lows in the surface finish. And by wet flattening it, what we're doing is we're bringing the surface finish all down to one level, so that when it's polished, it will look perfectly flat and perfectly smooth. Now, once you've done the P2000 stage and you're happy with where that is at, you can polish it up if you want to. My personal preference is then we will go over it with either a 3000 Trizac disc, or I've been using recently these SIA P3000 foam back pads, because these are a lot cheaper and just as effective as far as refining those 2000 marks back to a 3000 to give you that perfect mirror finish. Now, you'll see as I'm going over it, I go across this a little bit like you would when you paint it. So I'm overlapping strokes. By doing it this way, I'm not missing any of the panel. I'll usually go around the edges first and then do overlapping strokes. 4 to 5 passes, for instance, normally should be enough. You might do 4 or 5 passes and find out that it's not enough, but just as we did in the first stage, you can dry it off, check it. If it looks like it needs a little bit more, you know, you're not really taking a lot of the paint off at this stage. But already you can see now the difference between the left side and the right side in the surface finish. So one is almost like a semi-gloss finish already between the right side that's been wet flat and the left side that's had the 3000. So it brings it up that bit more. Now, bringing the 2000 up to a 3000, especially on a DA, because the DA has got a random orbit. So rather than leaving straight lines, basically like straight 2000 scratches when you've flat it by hand, the DA will leave, you know, very random, very fine 3000 scratches, which will make the whole polishing stage easier. And you'll notice that when I started this polishing stage, I've not put a bucket full of polish on. I've only put like a £2 coin size bit of polish, and I'm going to use that now for a large area of the bonnet. You don't need an absolute ton of polish, especially one of these wool heads. These wool heads are quite aggressive, so if you've got a half decent or a good compound and you use one of these wool heads, you will find that, again, you'll see that the passes are overlapping passes, and I'm taking my time, giving them a nice overlap, nice and slow, because this is sped up to like 4 times speed. So nice, slow, nice sweeping passes, overlapping each pass. Again, in the hope that if you get those nice overlapping passes, that fingers crossed, we won't have any patches that are any duller or shinier than any other area. Now what I'll normally do is I'll do so much in a section, I'll then knock it off with that nice fresh cloth. I'll then, if there is any areas that need a little bit more, I'll spot a little bit of polish on. Now you can tell in the reflection here what I'm doing, just using the airline to airline out the wool pad, because as you're polishing, the paint residue and the polish is hardening on the pad, and that is clogging the pad up, and what it'll do is the pad itself will start skimming across the surface without actually cutting. So it's always good that, say, after you've done a certain size area, just get your airline, run your polisher up, blow the pad through, get the excess paint and the excess polish out of the pad, nice little bit of fresh polish on there, and go again. You'll find that if you do this regularly, it'll be cutting twice as quick and twice as easy all the way across the job. Otherwise, you'll find the further across the job that you get, the slower and the harder it will seem to polish up, when in effect it's just the pad itself that is clogged with paint and polish that is going hard. So now this is the reflection that we have in the bonnet, and you can see the massive difference now between obviously the start point, but also between where we've done the 3000 now and we've done the compounding stage. Now once you've done that, especially with a wool head, you'd want to swap over using the same polish, if it's this G3, to a soft head, and just give it a nice soft head, preferably with a DA polisher, because it'll get rid of the swirl marks better. But now we've got that perfectly flat, perfectly seamless finish, and we have none of the scratches or none of the orange peel, nothing's there, it's perfect. So I'm going to leave you with some pictures of the car before we did it, and also some of the pictures of the car once we've finished. So that was the shots of the car as we got it, and for you guys that want to see the finished car, here it is. So everything's been done now, everything's complete. It's at its full cut. The only thing I've got left to do now is just the final soft polish, ready for the customer to pick it up early next week, and that's everything done. As you see, it looks a lot better now. You know, it's actually got a proper nice paint finish to it, and everything's all done, complete, and this little Mini now is looking rather nice. So that's going to be the last video on this project, on this little Mini. I think the next project that we're going to be doing, well, I think, by the time that you guys are watching it, I'll already be part way through it and recording it. But we've got an Audi that we're doing. It's like an Audi pickup. It's got a full body kit. It's like a one-off job, which will be a really good job. So we'll go through all like the prep and the paint and a lot of stuff on that job. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this series on this Mini. Don't forget, if there's anything that you want that you've seen throughout this whole series, contact our sponsors at SP Supplies. A few people were asking me about mixed colours because they don't have mixed colours on the website. If you're looking for mixed colours or anything like that, just drop them an email and they can sort you out mixed colours and sort out payment and delivery and all that sort of thing. So that's it for me for today, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this video and I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.